today we are going to be talking about heaven on earth. And did you know that each moment you can be having an awesome moment? Each day you can be living in heaven. You can be in the kingdom of heaven right here and right now. And we may have memories of joyful moments, and we may have thoughts of the future that we're looking forward to, but the time to experience heaven is now. I want to read you something that Charles Fillmore wrote. Charles Fillmore is our co-founder of Unity, him with Myrtle Fillmore. I want to give her credit where a woman's credit is due. So Charles Fillmore in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary wrote, "The kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness in which the soul and the body are in harmony with divine mind." And so what does that mean? It means that when we take divine mind, we take divine creativity, we take divine ideas, and we bring them into our own body. We bring them here and now. Can you make that a little bigger? So, next slide. I have the slider. So today can be the moment that is the best moment in your life. And I brought a cupcake to illustrate this. Here's a cupcake. Okay, with this cupcake, I can think of memories of great cupcakes I've eaten. And I can think of the future. Oh my gosh, this frosting is going to taste so good. But when can I experience the eating of the cupcake? Right now. So I can only experience the cupcake right now. And that is what life is about. We can experience it. All that life is right now. I'm speaking from the book, A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes. And Ernest Holmes was the founder of Center for Spiritual Living, and so some of you may have known it as Science of Mind. And in the 1920s, he wrote a series of statement of beliefs. And I want to read one of these statements of beliefs to you. Okay. Let's see if we can have that a little bit bigger. Okay. Sorry, the other part. I believe, okay, I can read it up here. I believe that heaven is within me and that I experience it to the degree that I become conscious of it. And so both Ernest Holmes and Fillmore were talking about becoming conscious of our thoughts. And that is how we bring heaven on earth. It was interesting because our word of the day went so much into this sermon, and I was listening to it. Because one of the things I was going to talk about was, have you met people that seem to be at peace, that seem to carry the kingdom of heaven with them? Okay. One of those people is our mentor and our friend and our minister that is on sabbatical. And she is definitely in the kingdom of heaven as she's hiking and doing all of those mountains. And other people that carry the kingdom of heaven, well, some of you are right here now. You may not carry it all the time, but you do carry peace. And you carry that softness and that tranquility and the kingdom of heaven. And so I want you to acknowledge in yourselves when you are doing that, when you are carrying the kingdom of heaven. Because there is no more joy, no more abundance, no more happiness that is available except right this minute. You can have memories of the past that are joyful and future thoughts, but right this moment is when you can experience the kingdom of heaven. So did the past exist? I've got some cupcake on me. Did the past exist? Yes, yes. We have had a past, and we have memories of the past. And oftentimes we take those memories, and what do? We sometimes move the memories into the present. And sometimes when we do that, they're not always good memories. Sometimes we move those memories of, oh, I shouldn't have said that to my spouse, or I shouldn't have lost my temper, or I shouldn't have, what do you fill in the blank with? Or regrets. I wish I hadn't taken that job. I wish I hadn't signed that contract. I wish I hadn't, okay? And the should-haves. I should have. That's the biggie. I should have. How many do we take? I should have exercised more. I should have spent more time with my family. I should have worked harder at my job. All of those should-haves. So we have the would-haves, the should-haves, the regrets. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, there were these two monks, and they were walking, and they came up to a river. You may have heard this story. They came up to a river, and there was a woman standing there at the river bank. And the current was quite rough. And so she asked them, would you help get me across the river? And one of the monks was like, you could tell. But the other monk just said yes, quickly picked her up, put her on his shoulder, took her across the river, laid her on the other side, and then she said thank you, and she went on her way. Well, the two monks continued on their journey, and you could tell the one monk was very agitated and just upset, and all of a sudden he just blurts out, brother, brother, our spiritual teachings teach us never to touch a woman. But you took that woman, you picked her up, you put her on your shoulder, and you carried her on the other side. And the other monk just calmly looked at him and said, yes, and I set her down, but it looks like you are still carrying her. So how many memories do we take into the present that don't serve our highest good? And where should we determine, how do we determine what memories we should take into the present? One of the ways is to look at science. Science does research and investigation, and they only bring into the present what is proven to be valuable information. So what you want to do is, with your memories, choose memories that serve your highest good. Now, sometimes they serve your highest good, but so I guess what I'm saying is, when you're thinking of memories, what you want to do, when you start thinking of those memories that don't serve your highest good, let's say you're having time constraints, somebody asks you to help them, and you're having time constraints and you can't help them at all. Well, instead of remembering that memory, why don't you remember the memories when you were just an angel to someone? You really helped someone. You were a blessing. When there's times that you might feel like you're bringing memories of a presentation that you didn't do well at work, well, instead, bring the memories that serve your highest good. When did you do that presentation that was great? When did you do that sales call that went perfectly? When you're thinking, oh, I should have done more with my health. Instead, start thinking of those memories of when you called the doctor and made that appointment, when you took that walk, when you meditated. Think of thoughts that serve you and have those memories. Now, what should we do with our memories? We should bring in memories that serve us, but we shouldn't live in those memories. We can reminisce about life, but we shouldn't live there. Have you ever met someone that just seems to always be talking about the past. And they seem to be a bit critical of the present. They might be saying things like, oh, we have too many electronics. Nobody ever talks to anyone. Okay? Or this world is just going to pieces. Those millennials are all lazy. Have you ever heard that? So when we live in the past and and we're critical of the present, we cease to be creative. We cease to contribute. And this is what Ernest Holmes says about that. Whenever a person ceases to be creative, ceases to contribute creatively to life, then the great stupor sets in. The mind and the body start to stagnate. The mind turns in upon itself, and the record of memory plays a monotonous tune. The vitality that fed the body ceases to flow and circulate freely. And every function and recreative process slowly but surely starts to diminish until a point of extinction is reached. So that's quite a bit of what he's saying. So do we have too many electronics in the world? Maybe. And did you know that there's an electronic bandage that helps you heal faster? And any of us that have had any kind of surgery know how much electronics have played a part in helping our healing and helping eliminate pain. Are millennials lazy? Probably. Are you lazy? Am I lazy? Some of the time. Are all millennials lazy? No. And were those the good old days? Well, the good old day has already happened. And so there is not a better day than this moment, because it is the moment. It is why they call it a present. I want to tell you another story, okay? I love onions. As all of you get to know me and we go out to lunch, you'll hear me order extra onions with every meal. My family knows this. And as a kid, I used to make a peanut butter and onion sandwich. So I have always loved onions. I don't like cabbage. Never have liked cabbage. Have bad memories of cabbage. I grew up in that age when your parents would go, you have to clean your plate off, you have to get everything off your plate and eat it because there are children starving in China. And you're wondering, how are we getting my leftovers to China? So I love onions, I don't like cabbage. Now let's pretend I have a garden, because this is a story I'm making up. And in my garden, I have cabbage. Well, I don't want cabbage. What am I going to do? I'm going to pull that cabbage up. And what am I going to plant? Onions. So it's that same soil, but I'm going to put new seeds. I'm going to put seeds of things that I want. And so this is the thing with your thoughts. You want to have the thoughts and the memories that serve you. Let's say you're having knee problems. And instead of thinking of all the times that you might have had previous knee problems, what if you started having those memories of walking easily and effortlessly? And even though you can't see it and feel it with your five senses, you know it is present. Because sometimes we take our memories that don't serve us, we're almost like reliving pain. Okay. Would any of us want to relive pain? So there's a story about a patient, and he goes to his doctor, And he says, "Doctor, every time I touch my elbow, it hurts. What should I do?" And what's the doctor say? Quit touching your elbow. So we don't want to continue living in pain. We don't want to relive memories of pain. So we talked a little bit about our past memories. Let's talk about what we sometimes look for in the future. And sometimes we look forward to a lot of good things, but there's also that time that we are fearful of our future. We're afraid of something, and we bring those thoughts of what we're afraid of in our future. And what does that cause? If we're thinking thoughts of what we're fearful of, it's going to cause experiences that we don't want. Anonymous said this, and Anonymous has to just be the best writer in the world. Worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. And that's what, I wrote this before I ever heard of the Daily Word. And so that is interesting. So what we want is we want to carry that peace. We want to carry that peace within us. We want to create a future, when we think of the future, that we want in the present. We want to live heaven, here and now, moment by moment. I have a good friend of mine. Actually, I met her through Center for Spiritual Living. And she doesn't like the pandemic. None of us like the pandemic. But she has found a way to appreciate things that are happening now. So she used to have to fly quite a bit, 3 and 4 times a week. She had to get on a plane for her business, and now she doesn't. And she really likes that. And she also is working from home, and she feels like she's much more productive working from home. How many of you feel that you're more productive working from home? Yeah. And so the other thing she likes about what's happening now is that life has slowed down a bit. So she has a little more time to read and meditate and do gardening and all of the things that she loves. So what she has done is she's focused on what is the good happening now, even in these times. She's focusing on things that provide her thoughts, that provide her highest good. Another aspect of living, heaven and earth, is contributing to the universe, contributing to the creativity of life, contributing to each other. And there are many ways to contribute to life. And you see it, I see it in you. We contribute, I see people in their jobs helping mentor others. Just by your presence, you can be a contribution to others. You can teach children. Raising children is a contribution. Being a grandparent that your grandchildren can come to and know that unconditional love. Being that aunt or that uncle that your nephews and nieces just can't wait to see. That is contributing. Some of you are helping run classes, working in our garden, working on the AV team, typing up the daily word so that it can be communicated in just such an awesome way. Everything that you do to help contribute to life is wonderful, and that is living heaven on earth. Isn't that's cute. I have to thank Joe. I'm going to give him a little hand. He helps me with my PowerPoint presentation. So he's the one that goes and finds all our pictures for me. And so the other thing about when you contribute, living heaven on earth, is you don't age. You don't age because you have the minds and the hearts of a young soul. You have the minds and hearts. And that is like drinking from the fountain of youth. And so we want to look at our yesterday and bring memories that serve us. We want to think of future, how our future is going to be, with experiences that we want here and now. And we want to know in the present who we are, who you are. I can promise you this. You are a divine being. You are and have the essence of God. And so just take that in as you go through this week. Take that in that you know Source. And another thing, every time that you do something great, know that it is the power of Source. You can be humble and at the same time know that the divine is within you, expressing through you. So let us live heaven on earth each moment by knowing our thoughts, by concentrating on our thoughts that serve our highest good. And know that each of you is loved. Each of you is loved by each other because we are all one in spirit. And you're loved by a Source that is greater and yet is a part of us, an expression of us. And so it is. Amen.